What is going on, cyberspace? Hello, and welcome to the HyperPixel podcast. I am Michael K., and on this very day of the week, this particular day, I am joined by the hacker space legend of cyberspace land, known as Zerain. What's going on, Zerain?
Not much, brother.
Excellent.
Living life, feeling good.
Fantastic.
Man, I just every day is a new adventure, and I'm just trying to live it to the best I can.
Exactly.
And that seems to be paying off one degree or another. So
I feel
happy
you.
about that.
Yes.
Yes, sir. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I have the Reading Rainbow song stuck in my head. It's just been playing on repeat for basically the past day or so.
Because of the new TikTok filter.
That's correct.
Space one? Yeah.
Yeah. So that is literally constantly going in the back of my head. It's like some background music for my day. So, you know.
But in the sky,
right.
I can fly twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book.
So I say that to say I'm doing excellent because, you know, that's a great song to have stuck in your head, right?
That is a good. No, I like that song a lot. I mean, I don't know if you're joking or not, but
I am being
really do
partially
like that song.
joking and partially serious there.
Like the synth is really cool in it. I think.
Really is.
Like I think that like a remix of that song would be like really cool, like really really cool.
That Zerain should release that.
Man, maybe.
Bless the world with your talents and abilities.
What little there are.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I got to do something. That's a whole nother story. I've got to do something. It's incessantly in my mind. I can't stop thinking about it. And I need to stop thinking about it and just do something. I know that's the answer.
Yeah.
But I'm just not. So it's like, well,
I'm familiar with this phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's quite a thing.
Man, my brain is my curse. I mean, you know, everybody's like, people are like, if you say something that seems smart, people are like, "Oh, you're smart," and it's like, no, I'm not smart. My brain just never stops. Like I can't stop thinking about things, and things just happen in my brain. It's like it's a curse. Trust me, it's a curse. I wish I could just there was a switch I could turn off.
Bro, tell me about it. Woo, whenever you figure that out, let me know. I would like to be clued into that little trick.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. So Zerain, I don't know how I know this, but a little birdie told me that you may have beaten Final Fantasy VIII. It was strange. I was sitting there, you know, having my morning smoothie, and I had the window open because, you know, it's spring today. It may not be tomorrow, but it is today. And this little bird just came and sat there and went, and I speak bird, and I know that means, hey, I heard that Zerain beat Final Fantasy VIII. So is that true?
Yeah, the bird did not lie to you.
Fantastic.
I did, and that bird may have been from the future. I don't know. Must have been.
That's crazy. Time traveling birds, even.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's birds aren't real. You know, they're just
right.
Birds, so.
Oh man,
okay. We gotta stop. Yeah, I did. This is really funny because so this is the second time I've beaten the game, and I've tried to play through the game several other times in between the two. The first time I beat it was back when I was young, and it came out in 1999, which is funny because it did come out right around when Silent Hill did. So I was playing those two at around the same time. So that was a very auspicious time in my gaming career.
I did not know this. That's cool.
Yeah.
When did Silent Hill come out?
99.
Okay. Wow. I didn't know it was that late.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Resident Evil 2 was 98. Resident Evil 1 was 96, I think. And Silent Hill's 99. And well, we can talk about this another time. I was going to talk about people comparing Silent Hill to Resident Evil, but that's a different conversation. Final Fantasy VIII, you know, the last time I beat it, you know, it's one of those things if you don't know what you're really doing in the game, you're just trying to figure it all out. You just kind of feel like you scrape by when you get to the end of the game and you beat it. Didn't do that this time. I beat the game. I had every Guardian Force. Except for 2 leveled up to 100. I had all of my characters leveled up to 100. I had all of their, you know, ultimate weapon or final weapon or, you know, highest statted weapon. And I had most of I think I may have had all, but I know I had most of Keistis's limit breaks. I did not learn all of Angelo's limit breaks, but I did all but 2, I think. So I did most of the stuff in the game.
That's cool.
For the main part. I didn't do any of the side quests, really side quest stuff. Unless you count as like getting some of the Guardian Forces side quests, which is actually true, I guess. Getting like Bahamut and Eden are kind of like side quests if you don't get them from the last dungeon. Okay, I may be spoiling stuff for you.
Oh, I knew that.
Okay.
After missing 2 of them, I didn't want to miss any more, so I looked that up.
Yeah. I had missed Siren originally, so I had to get Siren in the last dungeon. So there's that. That's why Siren and Eden were the 2 that I did not level to 100. And I'll be honest, I don't know that I even used Siren at all. I did use Eden once just because I like the animation and it's pretty intense.
That's cool.
Yeah. Have you gotten Eden yet, or Bahamut?
Let me refresh my memory here.
They're the ones that you get out in the Deep Sea Research Center.
I
think maybe Eden. Either one of the 2 are the hardest GF to get in the game. IMO. Well, I mean, it's not just. That's pretty objective, I think. Because, like, I mean, maybe you could say Cactuar, but he's not really that bad.
Yeah, I don't have him.
Yeah, you're gonna have some fun.
I don't have Tonberry.
Oh, Tonberry's pretty ridiculous to get to.
Yeah. When I tried to get him originally, I was so underpowered. It was like before I really like knew how to play the game.
Oh yeah.
So it was just impossible.
Did you get Odin?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a really.
I'm
trying to think where you're at. Did you fight? How many spoilers do you want me to refrain from for you? Like fights or I know storyline.
I guess as many as possible, really.
Okay. Yeah. It's not really a spoiler. It's just talking about some of the fights that you're probably getting close to.
Yeah.
Or may have already done. I don't know. That's what I was going to try to ask. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to spoil it. It's good that you have Odin, though. Well,
yeah.
Maybe it's good that you have Odin. We'll talk about it after.
Okay.
It's like my opinion is changing on that too, one way or the other. Anyway, like people who don't know anything about Final Fantasy are like, "What the heck are you talking about?" So like Odin's like a not really a Guardian Force, but he kind of is. You can't call him or junction him like you can the other Guardian Forces, but he will show up randomly at the beginning of a battle and just like one shot your enemies. Well, depending on what battle he shows up in, he'll one shot. But like 90+% of the battle, 95, 98, 99+% of the battles he'll one shot. Anyway, so as far as what I did, yeah, and I beat the game. I used cheater mode. I'm not gonna not admit that. I definitely used cheater mode with the 3 times speed and the infinite limit breaks and the auto. So it also does auto heal to 100% HP if you get hit and don't get killed. But if you get enough damage dealt to you that's more than your HP, you do die and you have to resurrect the character. So I did have a use for Phoenix Downs in the game. But yeah, it was easy as you might think. The only thing that was really difficult were I can't talk about it. Okay, we could talk about this one when you beat it and we actually talk about it. But I am very glad that I beat it. It reiterated that Final Fantasy VIII is my favorite Final Fantasy game for sure. Like, I mean, for all you 7 fans out there, I'm glad that 7's your favorite. It's not mine. 8's my favorite. I think it's the best one.
That's right. I have to say this I find this hilarious. So ever since I posted that Majora's Mask video where I said that was my favorite Zelda game.
Yeah.
It is actually like hysterical to me. It is comical to me. The amount of people that come into the comments and say, "You're wrong. That's not your favorite Zelda game."
Right.
It's like, "Oh, am I wrong?" that that's my favorite Zelda game? I'm confused. I'm a little.
Yeah.
Help me understand how I'm wrong that that's my favorite Zelda game.
Wait, what? I need your opinion, or what? Where's the science? Show me the science on it.
Right.
Like which one's
Oh,
yeah,
anyway.
no, it's like you have people out there that like Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link's their favorite Zelda game, and you know what? They're right.
Right. Exactly.
or and we even Wand of Gamelon. It's like it's like they're right. As much as we might not pick that.
Right.
Like what the heck?
Oh, anyway.
We've talked about this before. I understand. And here's the thing. There's like two camps of there's more like three, probably more camps of Final Fantasy VII fans. There's the ones that are just like, yeah, I like it. I think it's my favorite. I really like it a lot, and that's how I feel about it, and that's awesome. Yeah. And then there's those who it's the best one, and if you don't think so, you're wrong. There's those, and then there's the ones where it's like even worse than that, where it's like it's the best, and if you don't think so, you're wrong. And if you don't know all of these extreme intricate details and fan theories about how all these things interact, then you don't even like the game. It's like, bro, calm down. And it's like, I understand being like that. I really do, but it's like we've said here before, and we'll probably say it very frequently. Let people enjoy what they enjoy, how they enjoy it, why they enjoy it, and all that kind of stuff. And talk about it, and try to see if you have other people that see things the same way and like things the same way and all that. And then when you find those people, spend more time with them. You don't have to spend time with the people you don't agree with. And you don't have to make people change their opinion. Like, that's like the worst thing to try to do in the world. I think that is absolutely the worst thing to try to do in the world. You can scale that up to any realm in life, So anyway, the story, I really like the story of 8. I think that one thing that I will say is that after I played through the game, I went and did something. I read the synopsis on Wikipedia, and the synopsis actually says that something happens at the end that I thought was different. And in my head canon, something different happens than what they say happens in the synopsis. The thing is, if you go and play the game and experience the ending, there's no way to argue one way or the other. I mean, there's no way to objectively say it's one way or the other. They both could be true. And so I'm sticking with my head canon because it's a more impactful story if it's my head canon. And I will talk about that. That's a real pivotal point that I want to talk to you about when you beat it and we have our podcast on it. It's just it's a good game. There are some things that I could see to improve it, and maybe we'll talk about those too. But I don't think it needs improvement really. I really like the magic system. The playing through it again this time made me realize that mechanically that's why I really got into the game, because of the magic system. Once you understand what you're supposed to do, is definitely one of the most complex but also interesting magic systems in the Final Fantasy universe, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really enjoy the magic system in that game. It's very unique.
You feel like you have to work for it. That's why I think it's rewarding. But I also see how it's entirely off-putting. I also think some of the people who hate 8 are the people who like did what everybody does and plays it, 5 hours into it, 8 hours into it, and then they're like, I can't do anything now. I literally can't do anything now because they didn't play it right.
Yeah, and we can get into this once we get into our podcast, but it honestly, a lot of the reasons why people don't like Majora's Mask kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy VIII. There's like a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, we can get into that later, but it really gives me vibes of that thing between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. So,
and it sounds like I need to play Majora's Mask before that podcast too.
Right.
I actually started Final Fantasy VI, like maybe 30 minutes into it.
That's cool.
Up until the first save point, and then I just saved. But yeah, did you see the patches that I sent you?
I did, yes.
So basically it's a set of patches for the Final Fantasy 3 ROM, the US Final Fantasy 3 ROM, and you apply those to it, and it basically turns it into a much better translation and much better port of Final Fantasy VI. So all the things that got censored and changed are changed back to their original sprites, etc. And final from 3 to 6. And then, like I said, the translation's better. And I think that's there's some like scripting changes too that makes some of the music align better with some of the events in the game at certain points.
That's cool.
Yeah, but it's pretty minor. Those things. It's just mainly like some bug fixes, that sort of stuff. So
yeah,
when and if you want to play that game, I've got the patched ROM.
That's
I can
cool.
share with you.
Yeah, I got to decide if I want to play the cartridge that I bought or if I want to play it on the Mister.
Also, you got the 3 cartridge. Oh, okay.
I actually got that. I got it from Game Exchange. I had some credit there, and I got it when I was actually on my way to see you when I was last up there.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
So,
do you have 2?
Yes.
The Super Nintendo? Oh, man. Look at you.
Right. 2 is boxed. I don't have the box for 3, though.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I don't remember if I have the manual for 2 or not. I think I do.
What does that go for in the box?
I don't know.
I gotta see. This is.
Are you looking at 3 or 2?
2. I see somebody trying to sell it complete in box for $750. I doubt that'll sell complete in box. Or for it'll sell a complete in box. It won't sell for $750. But it looks like the only other one is a mostly complete in box or maybe no, it looks complete. They're not claiming complete though, but they've got like the map and stuff in the booklet and some of the other inserts. 176.13 from Canada. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Interesting.
It's amazing. I find it interesting that a lot of Super Nintendo games, like the cartridge, sells for about how much the game sold for brand new back in the day, and then like adding in the box and all that stuff like doubles the price or whatever. But
oh yeah, totally.
It's like, well, if you just want the cartridge, it's pretty much the same price as it was when it came out. So.
So, yeah. The other thing, we had talked about Max Payne last time.
Yeah.
And so that made me curious. And I was on Steam. I don't know why I was on there. I just had it open. And it recommended me, hey, this is on sale. You might like it. It was Max Payne 3 on sale for $5.99. So I picked that up and started playing the first one again. I was actually it ran. The last time I tried to do that, it did not. Although that last time it may have been on Windows 7 or something. I don't even remember, to be honest. Yeah, the game holds up. I was mentioning this to you yesterday. It's like, it's everything that I remember it to be. It's fun. Like I told him, I told you, I played it so much that it's like I remember everything that's happening in the game. It's like, it's so weird. I played that game too much when I was younger. I guess I didn't realize how much I played it. But it's a really good game. And still, reiterated my, just saying that everybody should play this game. I think it's a game everybody should play. If you like shooting games, like, first person, third person, whatever shooters, you should play this game. It's different than those things, but I really playing it again really reinforced this in my mind as well, that the bullet time mechanic isn't the mechanic, that's the game. Everything else just fits around it. And it's just always fun. It's like, it's really fun to just do a fight and think, oh, I could do that a little bit better, and then reload. Just like save before a fight, a big fight, do it, and like, I can do it a little bit better. And then it's like, you just kind of want to perfect how you do it. Well, I do. That's how I played it. And it's just, it's so good. So anyway.
Yeah, I love it when a mechanic in a game like that is like, it is so satisfying. It just never gets old.
Yeah.
Like, the Transformers War for Cybertron games, like the way that you can control the vehicle and you can transform and you're like switching back between robot mode and vehicle mode, and you're in these battles. Like it's so well done. It's so fluid. It's so satisfying. It never gets old. Like even
That's
like up
awesome.
until the very end of the game, it's like just all over the place. It's great. Exactly.
That sound is just so iconic.
It really is.
Oh man, I'm sure you could find this out somewhere. There's probably a video about it, but I really wonder how they made that sound.
Dude, I love the like sound design stuff like that, like learning how they make different sounds and whatever. I was watching BlizzCon several years ago. They had like a panel that like a bunch of audio designers put on, and they were talking about like how they made all these different sound effects, and it was just like the most ridiculous. I can't even begin to describe the stuff that they were talking about. Like, we got this thing and we bent it a little bit and heated it up a little bit, and then we were out in the middle of this field, and then we had like these giant metal walls around us in the middle of this field, and then we shine the lights in the right way, and then we got this very specific drumstick, and then we hit it in this very specific spot, and had the microphone over here, and then we blended those two together, like all this crazy crap like that. It's like, what the heck?
But you had to switch phase on one.
Right.
Oh no, we didn't switch phase. We wanted the subtraction on that side. So that's the kind of crap they think about.
Exactly. You're there. You're basically an audio designer, right?
Oh man, poor man's audio designer. Oh dude, man. I say that, but it's like that's one of those things that you don't have to spend a lot of money to really be able to get a lot of good outcome. You know, it's like you just pick up some junk and like hit it in a funny way in front of a crappy microphone. The crappy microphone might add to it, you know?
Yeah. They actually did something there at that panel. Like they had this part of this like Diablo or something, and they were like, all right, we're going to make a sound effect for this particular thing that happens. And like they did it there, and it was just like awesome. Something totally ridiculous, and it sounded awesome when they finished it. So
nice. Yeah, and like all plugins and stuff to do processing on that, you can find free ones, lots and lots of free ones that because all they're doing is like little delays and like EQ, like extreme EQs and weird compression crap. And
yeah, man, that's the thing about a lot of those free plugins is like they are very good as long as you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, like you can do some serious stuff with that.
Well, the thing about sound design too is like, if you got time, just play with it. Just turn knobs and see if it sounds good.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I don't like that. That's a great way to learn a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, once you learn doing it that way, you may not be able to tell people how you do it, but you can do it.
Right.
That's cool, man. So we got a podcast to do.
So we do, in fact, have a podcast to do. So Cyberspace, we are continuing our discussion from last week about video game movies based on video games. So I know, Zoraine, you have some heavy hitters there that we are going to probably spend the rest of the time talking about here. So
true.
I will hand off the reins here to you, and you do your thing, and you have your way with those, and we'll see where this goes.
All right, so we really only have 3 to talk about. And I've got some extreme opinions about some of these, as you might expect. So I'll start with the one that's not a lot really to talk about. So this is a movie that at the time when it was coming out, I had a friend who was a projectionist at a theater. And so he, because he was a projectionist, he was often the last person working at the theater. So he had keys to the theater. And so he would be able to, like finish things, wrap up, make sure people get out, and then just like shut down.
Yeah.
And he knew that, I really like survival horror games and all that kind of stuff. We were really good friends. We were in a band together, all kinds of stuff. So we were really close all through high school. And this was, I'm pretty sure in college. And he knew this movie was coming in. He had to set it up and test it, because one of the things that a projectionist has to do, as far as I understand it, is you have to set up maybe it's different now than even then. Probably is. It's probably like all digital now, but this was before it was all digital. And he had to set up the reels, put them on, and then he had to do a test viewing to make sure that it looked right, so that when people come to see it, it's like they're not pissed off because they didn't get to see the movie right or whatever.
Right.
And so he was like, hey, I've got to do this test viewing for this. Do you want to come with me and do it? Because he was going to do it like when the theater was closed. So it was like around midnight or something, like on a weeknight. And I'm like, yes. And so that's the story of how I got to see the Alone in the Dark movie before it released in the theater.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. It was so cool that so it was like me, like one or two other friends, and he was up in the projection booth to start, and then he came down to watch it with us. And it was the experience. I think my brother actually came with us too. The experience of it was awesome, right? Literally empty theater except for your friends. And like you're watching a more than brand new movie. It's not even out yet. Like this is midweek and it comes out that weekend.
That's cool.
And dude, that experience was unparalleled. I don't know if I'll ever have a theater going experience that's as cool as that was. Really, really awesome. Once in a lifetime. The movie, however, garbage. It's terrible. It is so bad. There's nothing about this movie that is in any way like Alone in the Dark. I can't even remember. It's another one of those movies, kind of like Max Payne, that you just like you put it out of your mind and you just don't even think about it. Because like it took me a while to remember that. Oh yeah, this is a movie I could talk about. So I remember almost nothing about it other than I think it's like Christian Slater like the main character in that movie. I need to look this up now because that I really liked the Alone in the Dark game.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 2005. Christian Slater. It's another Yui Bowl movie, just like The House of the Dead, like Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, exactly. That explains it. All his movies are terrible. Tara Reid was in this movie too, apparently. Anyway, so it was nothing like the games. Maybe it was like the newer game, although the newer game may have came out after this movie. I don't know. But I really 2.4 out of 10 on IMDb. So that tells you again part of what
stellar rating.
So obviously I love survival horror. The original Alone in the Dark game is the first survival horror game. I think almost nobody disputes that. And if they do, then I would like to talk to them to talk about what they think the first survival horror game is, because I would like to go play that game. I played Alone in the Dark. I've beaten Alone in the Dark. I loved Alone in the Dark when I was a kid. My grandmother gave it to me for Christmas one year, and I remember it so vividly. Of course, it came on several 3.5-inch floppy disks for your IBM compatible PC. It also came with, I wish I still had this. It may be at my parents' house somewhere. For the longest time, I had it in my dresser, the top drawer of my dresser in my bedroom. It's this little book. It's like really little, like that big. Like I'm talking about like an inch by like an inch and a half, that sort of size. And it's pretty thick. I mean, and so you flip through it, and that was the DRM. So to start the game, you would have to pull out this book, and it would say, go to this page and then find the item that's on this page. And it had like two sliders, and you slide through all the different items in the game. So you pick one, and then it's like, okay, they go to this page. What's that one? You pick that one. And if it were correct, it would let you play the game.
Wow.
But you had to do it like every time you played the game. So that's kind of annoying, but it's also kind of cool because with being like that book, it's almost like you're physically interacting with the game. And that's kind of like part of the mystery of the game.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I have the game, all three of the original ones, on Good Old Games, and I've played through them, and it's like control wise, like if you think Resident Evil controls poorly and all of the tank control stuff is really bad, you should go play Alone in the Dark. Then you'll understand why I have no problems with the Resident Evil tank controls. It's terrible, but it's not. It will mess you up until you get used to it. And even when you get used to it, you may get screwed over by certain enemies, but there's not a ton of enemies in the game. And that's why it's really cool is like that suspense. Is there going to be something I have to deal with physically going on right here?
Yeah.
That suspense is always there, and it's always at like 99%. That's one of the reasons the game's so good. And it does like some really cinematic things, which are just like completely unheard of at the time. Like at the beginning of the game, you're walking through some of these bedrooms, and then like, it'll show like you come into the bedroom through one door, and then the camera will be outside the window looking into the bedroom, and so like you're really outside of it. And so it's like somebody looking into the bedroom, like creeping or whatever, and like you see yourself walking through, and then what just happens is then you move enough, and then it changes camera angle to like the normal angle that when you come in that room, and then like this enemy jumps in through the window, and then you have to fight.
That's really cool.
And that you never again see that view of that bedroom. If you can go back into it many times throughout the game, and it always just shows you that the regular view and not that through the window view. That's something that like games never had that kind of, extremely state specific presentation before that I'm aware of. Surely some do, but that was certainly the first that I ever experienced, and especially in such a like cinematic context. So it was a really good game. I love the Alone in the Dark games as imperfect as they are, as extremely low poly as they are. They just have a really special place in my heart because of them being such trailblazing games. And like, getting really epic, I'll say, like PC titles back then that weren't just like RPGs was like unheard of. Like, I mean, that just really wasn't a thing back then. Games were much simpler on PC. They were either like epic, and they were definitely RPGs like Ultima and all that kind of stuff, or they were just kind of like, I don't know, basic experiences, I guess, or they're shooters, right? First person shooters. That was never really epic in the sense that I'm meaning. So I was excited to see the Alone in the Dark movie, and it did not deliver. It's just terrible. Don't see it. Not worth it. It's so bad that I literally remember nothing of it other than Christian Slater. Somehow I remembered that he was the main character. I don't know how I remembered that, but there we are.
Yeah, I have not played any of those games, unfortunately, and I have not seen that movie. So
definitely don't see the movie. Definitely, and I think this is. I'm looking now at the cast list here. This is the thing that really bothered me about it, is that Christian Slater plays Edward Carnby, who's like the main character in the games. And so it's like, it's completely irrelevant to the games, yet they're trying to co-opt stuff from the games, aside from just the name. That really bothered me, like big time. And the time setting's wrong. Like, this is a modern movie, and like, that's not where the game's set. The original game's set like in the, at latest early 1900s. I off the top of my head, I can't really recall, but I'm fairly certain it's like late 1800s is when it actually takes place. Maybe even earlier than that, but certainly no, it's definitely late 1800s because he arrives in a car. But he's using like lamps, like even in like some of the stills, there's like gas powered lamps, so it's not like full on electricity everywhere. And the car is definitely like an early car. It's not like a Model T even.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got to be like late 1800s or like 1900, something like that. The year 1900. So, and it's like this modern movie. What? It's like, it just makes no sense. And then that was the part of the problem I had with the newest Alone in the Dark game, Alone in the Dark, on like Xbox 360, and I think it came out on PlayStation 3. I don't know. Is that it was just all modern and just dumb, and the story, they're always just trying to reinvent the story instead of just trying to pay homage or like redo what the real story is. It's like, I hate all of this. Let's reinterpret this in a modern context. No, that's not what it is. And it's like, well, people won't like it. Then just don't do it. You don't need to do it. Anyway, that's my opinion on
it. It sounds like you have one.
Right, dude. It's just continually people just mess up good things for no good reason other than maybe we can make a few bucks, not because they love it. Not because they love it. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about Alone in the Dark. I thought you had some on your list for today.
I have one, but I was just going to shove it in there at some point in between the ones that you had to talk about.
Well, let's go ahead and do it now, because I think the other two that I have are related kind of, and I probably will jump between talking about all of them.
So I don't know how I didn't realize this last week, but I guess it's because I didn't see any of these. But like, so all those Tomb Raider movies that came out with Angelina Jolie.
Oh yeah.
So those were like a big thing. I never saw any of them. the ratings
Dang.
on those, from what I saw, were actually not that bad. I mean, like it was
Yeah.
like 6.8 or something like that, which I mean, isn't
Well, that's
like,
watchable.
yeah, it's like at least it's watchable. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know much about Tomb Raider lore, but I don't really know that there is that much, really. So it's like, how can you mess this up? But
I know somebody who would disagree with you vehemently that there's not a whole lot of lore.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Just from what I've seen surface
either.
level, it doesn't appear that there, but I'm sure there is, as with anything
think,
like that.
I think there's like, my understanding of it is that there's like some stuff in like the original games. Of course, the games have stories to a degree, and not like Uncharted level stories, but something. And I mean, there's context clues that you can get, because obviously she has some sort of wealth to some degree, or like is somewhat acquainted with wealth, because like she's got a butler and she's got like a mansion sort of place, and so that there's that, we know that much. But I think a lot of like the more serious lore comes from like the newer games, like the really newer games.
Yeah.
So
which, yes. So okay, so there was the Angelina Jolie stuff that I never saw, but I guess they're okay. But then there was a newer Tomb Raider that came out after those newer games. So I played the first in those newer games. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it's very Uncharted-y. It came out in that era. But it's just funny. Like, she is getting wrecked this whole game. Like, she is so tough, but like everything is just wrecking her, and she just gets back up and keeps going. It's just
I don't understand that.
Right. But anyway, so there was a newer Tomb Raider movie that I totally forgot about, that I did see, that is kind of more based on the newer Tomb Raider series.
I didn't even know that there was a newer movie. Who plays Lara Croft?
I don't know. Not
so
Angelina
it's not Angelina
Jolie.
Jolie?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
When was that? I don't know. Maybe like 2018, 2019 or something like that.
Oh,
2018.
Wow. So pretty recent.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why I didn't know about it, because I just stopped paying attention to like everything.
Right. But it definitely had that feel of the newer games. And I don't know. It wasn't that bad to me. To be honest, I don't really remember a whole lot about it, because it was, just one of those.
Unremarkable.
Right. But it wasn't a bad movie or anything. IMO. Sure. Was trying to find how people reviewed it. So much crap all over the screen. That whole thing.
Yeah, as you do.
Right. But anyway, yeah, I mean, so that was a thing that and again, I'm not invested in the Tomb Raider stuff, so there's that, but I mean, it was all right from what I remember.
Yeah, I definitely played a good bit. I never beat any of the Tomb Raider games, but I played a good bit of the first one. And I also played a good bit of, is it the remake, like the Tomb Raider Anniversary, that's like out on 360, I think.
Yeah, I never played that. I don't know what that is, actually.
I played some of that. I mean, it's a fun game.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear that Uncharted took that formula and just tried to perfect it, and did a really good job at what they did. In my opinion, I really like those games. So it's like, it's kind of hard to go back and play the old Tomb Raider things because of that, because you're kind of spoiled on the formula, and it sucks because clearly Tomb Raider did it first. But I mean, they had their success in the day, so it's not like, people didn't care about the game. It was a very popular game when it was in its time.
Yeah, I played.
I just remember my neighbor had it when it came out, and we would go over to his house and play it, and he was like always playing it. That's all. Cool. That's mainly what I remember of it.
I got the first one for the Saturn when Toys R Us was like, get rid of all this Saturn stuff. We don't want this in our lives anymore. So I think I want to say it was like $5 or something like that when I got it. It was just like they were giving it away.
Does it play well on the Saturn?
From what I remember, I haven't played it in a while, but it was
Yeah.
And then I played the second one on PC. So I actually played the second one before I played the first one.
Okay.
I just remember it being hard as crap. I was not that good at it when I played it, so it was quite a game for me as a wee lad. But I remember running around in her mansion and doing all this trapezery stuff in her mansion, as you do. If you have a big house like that, you just gotta do some backflips here and there and whatever.
Right. A little bit of
swinging
around
with the butler and
that's right,
all that kind of stuff. So
gotta stay in shape, man.
Exactly. So I probably spent more time in that mansion in that game than I did actually playing the game.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where you just got to get a feel of the controls too. So.
Yeah. I want to say I was just playing it with a keyboard.
Oh, no mouse?
No.
Oh my goodness, dude.
That's
terrible.
Yeah, I don't remember there being mouse aiming in that. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that.
I thought that there was.
Maybe there was.
Maybe it's a patch or something. I don't know.
I don't remember that at all, actually. I just remember fumbling around on the keyboard like, duh.
Huh. I don't know. Somebody who's a Tomb Raider aficionado out there, just let us know.
Right. We're probably triggering them all over the place right now.
No, we are. Yeah. So sorry to stomp upon your favorite IP.
Right.
I understand how that is, so I apologize.
Right.
Speaking about understanding how that is, the segue. Or are you going to say something?
Oh, no, keep going.
Okay. So, I don't even know how to talk about these. Like, I really don't. It's like one of those things where, like, how I feel about stuff is just so fire laden that it's like, I don't know how to just like not just rail for like an hour here. I'll try to be more objective, like movie criticky about it. So I'll start with the one that came out first. So I'll just say these two, it's series because one has 2 movies and the other one has God knows how many movies. Silent Hill and Resident Evil both have movie series. And Resident Evil came out first. And I remember vividly going to see this in the theater. I remember wanting to go. And one of the other reasons that I remember this so vividly is that my really good friend at the time, he and I were going to go and he was going to drive. And this man's notoriously late for everything. And he was late to pick me up. I'm like, bro, we're going to be late to this movie. He's like, it'll be all right. It's just the, previews and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, bro, we better not be late to this movie because we're going to see Resident Evil. This is Resident freaking Evil. And finally, there's a movie. And finally, I'm going to go see it. And wouldn't you know it, we get there late. And the preview's already done and the movie's already started. Luckily, we missed like 3 minutes, 2 minutes tops of the movie. I didn't realize it at the time, but like after I watched it again, I realized, okay, we missed basically nothing. And if you've seen the movie at all, the first 5 minutes of the movie is them just messing around in a laboratory with like the virus and the antigen or the antidote, whatever you want to call it, vaccine, whatever it is. And so there's nothing to miss there. I mean, you could probably miss the first 5 minutes of the movie and not miss a whole lot. Anyway, saw the movie. There's 2 ways to talk about this movie. You could talk about this movie as a movie, and you could talk about this movie as a Resident Evil movie. Much like Resident Evil 4, the video game. You could talk about Resident Evil 4, the video game, as a Resident Evil game, or you could talk about it as a video game. Resident Evil 4, the video game, is an excellent video game. I enjoyed it as a video game immensely. It is a crowning achievement on the GameCube. It is a crowning achievement in action-adventure games, heavy on the action. It's just a good game. It is a objectively good game. That's how I see it. That's how I subjectively see the objective nature of the game. It is a terrible Resident Evil game. It is not survival horror in the sense that any of the games preceding it, including Code Veronica, was survival horror. Just not a survival horror game. Yeah, maybe you could say that I'm upset because that didn't have fixed camera angle sort of stuff like the first 3 did, and it doesn't have like the same kind of menuing system and this, that, and the other. Yeah, some of that plays into it, but it's just not a survival horror game. Okay, go back to the movie. The movie's a pretty good movie. Like if you took off Resident Evil and just said random, sci-fi movie, it's a movie that I would watch and I would enjoy for what it is. It would be a lot like, have you ever seen Pitch Black with Vin Diesel?
No. I know what you're talking about. I never saw it.
Okay. It's like that. It's a good sci-fi movie. Mm-hmm. It's not incredible. It's not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how good this is, but it's good and it's worth watching. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you like a lot of sci-fi, I would recommend watch Pitch Black. It's worth watching. That's how I feel about that as a movie. Now, as a Resident Evil movie, I don't know where to start with my litany of concerns and upsetness. One, they create a completely fabricated character for this movie series, the entire series, that is the pivotal character in the series. The series has nothing to do with the video games, not relevant in any sort of way to the video games. It is not even tied to the canon technically in any real sort of way. It's not like, and maybe I've not seen the final movie in the series. I'll say that. I've seen all of them except for the final one because I could barely even stomach the next to last one. I think there's only one I haven't seen. I think it's Afterlife is the one that I haven't seen. Anyway, she's not even connected to Umbrella as far as I can tell, although maybe that gets revealed. I mean, I think kind of she is, but it's like not super clear, and it's not super clear the purpose of her. Alice, I'm talking about. And so they create this whole thing in the first movie where they have this character Alice, played by Mia Jovovich, that is kind of inserted artificially into this world that they try to construct somewhat close to the game world. She's in some big mansion. Mm-hmm. And well, spoilers, you don't really see anything of the mansion in the first movie. I was just go ahead and say it's big spoilers for all these movies because I'm just going to lay into it. You don't see anything of the mansion in the first movie. Guess what? Resident Evil, the first game, is 50, 60%. Well, if you count like the guard quarters and all that, it's like 70% the mansion. It's like there's nothing like that in the first game except for the first like 5 minutes she's in this mansion. She wakes up there and then something happens. All right, this Umbrella like SWAT squad comes in and absconds with her to this hidden underground lab. Okay, are we going to do Resident Evil 2? No, we're not doing Resident Evil 2 because if we were, we'd only be doing the end of Resident Evil 2 when you go into the lab that's connected from the city, not from the mansion. So lore-wise, they screw all of this stuff up and they pick and choose. They have liquors in the first movie. Okay, that's kind of cool, but it's like this whole thing is the lab's run by this AI, and that's what is trying to kill them because it's trying to stop the spread of the virus or whatever. And then there's this other guy who he's the one who released the virus, which goes against canon also, by the way. It's not somebody just like throws the virus out to try to leak it for who knows what reasons that I don't know that we ever learn. Maybe in the last movie you learn why he did it. All this stuff escalates to insane proportions of being not even parallel, but just completely off the path of the lore of this series where, zombies have taken over most of the world or at least most of this country based on, some of the later movies. Like there's scenes where it's like zombies are just like all throughout all of these cities and all throughout all of these like rural areas and just like everywhere and taking over everything. And it's like, what? That's not lore. Like that's not even close to, like, you even look at like Resident Evil 7 and 8, which are, the most recent main line of the series. And there's barely anything about zombies at all in those games. Right. And okay, let's go back to 6. Even that, it's like they're not everywhere, in 5, they're in Africa or whatever, and it's only certain parts of it. And again, it's not ever 4, that's with Spain, and it's only certain parts, and it's not even zombies. It's like this other thing, Las Plagas. And it's like, no. It's not, Resident Evil eventually becomes about something more than just zombies per se, which that's where I lose the script and even the games, and I'm like, whatever. But like this is like trying to turn something that is a very limited thing in the games into something that is even less limited than any zombie movie. You look at like Night of the Living Dead. Okay, so you could say like maybe Day of the Dead or some of the later Romero movies okay, yeah, there's kind of zombies everywhere. You look at Walking Dead, so it tries to turn into one of those kind of things instead of just being, because like in 3, the game, again, spoilers, they nuke the city. They nuke Raccoon City to get rid of all of these zombies, and basically that works. That's what people, I think, don't really realize. If people who are extremely casually acquainted with Resident Evil think that like, oh, like the zombies are everywhere now. That's like what they think because they've seen this in the movie, and that's not the way that anyway. So it's this complete story arc about this character who's irrelevant to the series and meets a lot of characters from the actual series who are generally very little like their actual counterpart in the series, because Jill Valentine's in it, Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Albert Wesker. Although Wesker is the one that's probably the closest to the way he is in the games, and they try to pull storylines from like 5 and stuff with Jill coming back in the later. I'm spoiling it for you too, so tell me to stop if you want me to stop.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Where like Jill comes back under the control of Wesker, and it's like, what's Wesker's agenda versus like Umbrella Corporation? It's like all of this stuff where it's like it's like Resident Evil flavored bad zombie movies is exactly what the only way that I can describe the Resident Evil movies. They're terrible. Like the only one that comes anywhere close to being the plot of any of the games is the second movie, which I can't even remember what it's called off the top of my head now. But it's the second one has Jill Valentine in it, and it has Nemesis. I think maybe it's called Nemesis. I don't remember. But it tries to do the story of the third game. Of course, it focuses mainly on Alice and whoever the heck that is, for whatever the heck reason it focuses on her. And they're trying to evacuate the city because they're going to nuke the city. Okay, or at least bomb the city to try to kill all the zombies. That at least is the right arc for a Resident Evil game. How it plays out, not that great. It's not terrible, but the second one's the best attempt at the lore of the games. And I think the first movie is the best attempt at making a movie. But none of it is really that great. And it's only worth watching if you just want to understand how wrong they went. And if you're a Resident Evil fan, if you're not a Resident Evil fan, sure, enjoy them. I don't have a problem with people enjoying the movies. I have a problem with people thinking that represents Resident Evil in any real way or any good way. All right. So that's all I'm going to say about the Mia Jovovich, Paul W.S. Anderson series. Which, by the way, they're married, and it's no wonder it was focused on his wife. Yeah. Anyway, there's that. Then the new Welcome to Raccoon City movie, I have not seen, and I don't know that I'm going to see, because I have people that probably are even more stickler of Resident Evil lore than I am, that have seen it, that have just basically said they wanted to walk out of the theater, and probably some of them did, to be honest. Because it's just apparently it is just atrocious. I've seen little clips here and there, and it's dumb. And that's all I can say about it. Is it looks dumb, like not even good movie. It just looks dumb. It looks like like House of the Dead level dumb almost. Oh, wow. In the sense that just the production choices and the things that they did with like music and all of that. It's just what.
When did that one come out?
Last November or something. Oh, okay. 2021. Oh, wow. Yeah. So I'm going to watch it eventually. I'm just trying to get myself into a mode where it's like I know what I'm getting into, and I still have hope for it, even though I've heard all this from other people. I'm trying to kill the hope before I watch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's bad. All right. So now, but there could be a redemption, right? There could be a movie or movies based on what's actually my favorite video game series that could be better, and it's also survival horror, and that's Silent Hill. So the original Silent Hill movie, I don't know if I've ever been that excited to see a movie before or since, to see the original Silent Hill movie.
I remember this.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things I have to say about this. So the production of it, as I understand it, was kind of chaotic in the sense that I think certainly I'm pretty sure the director, but I'm also pretty sure some of the people that were writing, if not the main writer, and some of the visual effects people were like really huge fans of the game. something happened where they had to kind of change the way the production was going. I don't remember the story here, so I'm going to get it wrong, I'm sure. But there's something happened where they had to change the production a little bit. Maybe they had to make it more, accessible to movie-going audiences or something. Because anybody who's played Silent Hill games knows that the games aren't even that accessible to people who play video games, because you have to kind of think about and dig for what's going on in the story. And that's one of the reasons that I've always loved it, is because I like mysteries like that. I like puzzles, right? It's a puzzle. So the first movie, I want to start with the things they did right, because I've been slamming so many things, and there's so much to slam in all of those movies, and there's stuff to slam in Silent Hill as well. But I want to talk about the first movie and what they got right. The atmosphere for the first movie was almost impeccable. Like I can't imagine how you could create a Silent Hill movie that felt and looked and sounded more like Silent Hill. The sound part was brilliant, that they actually used Akira Yamaoka's music from the games in the movie, and some of the sound effects and stuff too. That was perfect. Great choice. You're already on to a great start just saying that Akira Yamaoka is doing the music for it, or it's his music in it. Awesome. That worked out wonderfully. The visual effects, amazing. Like the way that they, in the movie, they call it ash, and they give a reason for why there's ash everywhere in the city or whatever in the sky. But it looks like fog. And I mean, you can suspend the disbelief enough to be like, okay, yeah, they're trying to make a storyline for why it would look like this, versus on the PlayStation, we only had it because the draw distance was garbage and they had to make it, not look like garbage. So that was cool. It looked cool. The first interaction with one of the monsters in the game that Rose has, again, they made up. We'll talk about that. That Rose has is so iconic to the movie, but it is also so in line with the game, because that's it. A lot of the shots and angles and stuff are a lot of how like James came across the first enemy in Silent Hill 2. And that's definitely intentional. It's clearly intentional. Not only that, there's a lot of shots that they took straight from the original Silent Hill game, like that one where she's walking down the alley and it's like got the camera above it and then it swings back and around. And that was one of the things about the first Silent Hill game, is that they were trying to make a cinematic horror game versus Resident Evil. It was not cinematic, but it was just kind of the way that I see Resident Evil is it's more like pulp fiction. So it's like really just action. There's some action there, but it's pulp in the sense that it's trying to what's almost make a caricature of what's going on in the moment, right? Everything's so extreme, right? Yeah. Like the battles are so extreme, the enemies look so extreme, the drama is so extreme. It's just very pulpy in that sense. Versus Silent Hill is more gritty. I hate people using that word because it's like it's almost lost its meaning, but it is a little grittier. It's more like it's trying to be a movie. It's more like it's trying to be a real story in the real world, and you have to unravel it to try to understand what's going on there, instead of it just being punched in your face like pulp stuff is. It's like, here's what's this, here's what's that, here's what's the other. And I think they did a really good job of that in the movie as well. Like I said, taking the camera angles, really trying to show that, hey, look, we know the source material and we're trying to do the right thing with respecting that source material in this movie. I think they really were cognizant of that, and I appreciate that greatly. I do like the Silent Hill movie, the first one. I will say that. I don't think that it is what I would want from a Silent Hill movie fully, but it got the atmosphere right enough that the rest of it I can kind of forgive. So I would say they did a 65 to 70% job on it.
It was funny because when I went and saw that, right before I went and saw that, I actually played the first Silent Hill for the first time.
Oh yeah.
I downloaded the quote unquote PC version of it, which was just an PlayStation 1 emulator that somebody packaged up that automatically loaded the ISO. It was a weird situation. I probably still have it on my hard drive. I would be curious to see if it still runs. But so yeah, I was like hot off playing the game when I saw it, and I was very pleased to see a lot of that stuff that you just described. It was like the atmosphere of everything was just very well done. Like you could really tell that they cared about what they were making.
And like the scene the first time that it transitions from the regular world to the other world is just, that was so good. That made me so happy. Even just thinking about that scene right now it's done so perfectly and so well that you can't make it better. It could not be better, especially with the effects and stuff at the time. It was just absolutely incredible. Extreme high praise for that. And the monster design, even the monsters. So the first monster she encounters is one that's from the games, and it attacks like from the games. It moves like from the games. And they had like somebody in like a suit moving around doing that. It was just like awesome. The attention to those details that they paid and did it. I respect them greatly for doing that, because I want people to know that I do appreciate the real good that's in this movie, because there is real good with respect to Silent Hill. And even the enemies that weren't in the game, like the guy that comes out from the bathroom stall and he's like crawling on his back and all that kind of stuff, and just got the tongue and all that. I think that's really cool. I think that is an original creature design that I 100% could see in a Silent Hill game. Absolutely. Like, it's exactly the same sort of thing. Now we need to start talking about the stuff that's not good in this movie. I'll start with what I kind of mentioned earlier. They create a completely new character that's irrelevant entirely to the series in Rose and put her in the movie. And then like she has a husband as well. And have you seen the second movie? Do you mind if I spoil some stuff from it?
That's fine.
Okay. There are various opinions on the second movie, and a lot of people say that it is way worse than the first movie, and I understand why they say that. And a lot of people say it's really bad, and I understand why they say that. I'm not saying I disagree with those opinions, but a lot of people say that. What they kind of do, it seems to me, is they take Harry and they do this weird, Harry and James for that matter, they do this weird thing where they split the character, where the part of Harry that have you played all the way through 3?
I haven't played 3.
We can't talk about this without me spoiling 3.
Okay.
Dang. Okay. So what they try to do is they try to split the character of Harry and then also combine an aspect of James into Sean Bean's character, which is Rose's husband in the first movie. You've seen the first movie, right?
Yeah.
You just said that. Sean Bean plays Rose's husband and the girl's dad. I can't even remember. Cheryl. Sharon. That's another thing. They named her Sharon instead of Cheryl. Why don't you keep the girl's name Cheryl? There's no reason not to do that. Anyway, stupid change. And especially stupid because Sharon sounds like Cheryl. Why wouldn't it just be Cheryl?
Yeah, that's really weird.
Whatever. Really, really weird. Anyhow, so they in Sean Bean, the dad character, they put like half of Harry from the first game, and then they also set up a scenario for him being James. Because like extreme spoilers, if you haven't seen the Silent Hill movie, sorry, might want to stop here because it's good enough movie to go see for sure. His wife Rose goes missing to him in the movie. The very interesting and kind of cliffhangery scene at the end of the movie where Rose comes back home to their house, and it looks like the house looks really still like Silent Hill, where there's like the fog and everything around, even in the house. She goes in the house and it's still kind of like that inside the house, and she sits down like on one, like a couch or whatever, and then it switches to showing the husband, Sean Bean's character, and he's in the same house, but it doesn't look like foggy and stuff. It's just like regular. And like he's looking at where she would be sitting and she's not there. And so like this whole thing where like they're existing in like different realms together at the same time, but in the same same time, same place, different realm, or different like phases of reality or whatever. Really, really cool shot. Implications that you can just talk about for an hour to try to be, well, what is it this? Is it that? You know, all that kind of stuff. I think that was a really masterful thing that they did at the end. But like it's a husband missing his wife, so gonna go look for his wife. He knew she went to Silent Hill, so he does that through the movie for sure. But then even at the end, it's like she's still missing. It's like, what's going on here? And then also since not Rose, Sharon is supposed to be like Alessa from the games, he's kind of like becomes this Harry character in the sense that, he's got his daughter that from this whole thing that he is alone raising, kind of like in the first game. Anyway, so they do that kind of weird bastardization with the characters, and it's like trying to figure out what are they even trying to do with that. But then there's like so much stuff with the lore of any of the games that just don't make sense. So it's clear that we're not doing Silent Hill 2 as the movie. So why is Pyramid Head in this movie? Pyramid Head, as you might think, it belongs in all Silent Hill things. No, talked about this before. Pyramid Head is a manifestation of James' guilt for things that he's done. I'm not going to spoil much more than that, but that's why he appears in 2. That's why at the end of 2, there's 2 of them. There's a reason plot-wise for that. I won't spoil that either. And then he says famously at the end of Silent Hill 2, I don't need you anymore, talking to the 2 Pyramid Heads. And then something happens, and there's a reason for all that too. Meaning that Pyramid Head's done after 2. However, Pyramid Head's in other games, so they really screwed that up anyway. But plot-wise, lore-wise, it makes no sense for Pyramid Head to be outside of Silent Hill 2. Of course, he's iconic with the series, so he had to be in the movie. Okay, so he's in the movie, and they give him a role, which is not too unlike the idea of what he's supposed to be in 2, but they take a lot of liberties with it. Of course, they have to have some gore around him, and it has to look cool, has to have his big knife and all this, that, and the other. Sure, okay, whatever. But then they tried to make the whole idea of the cult of Silent Hill be like a real thing, where there's like a real church and all this. That's like they're using the church to protect themselves from all of the things of Silent Hill. But that's really not how the lore is in the games. Is that the whole idea of the church and like the monsters or whatever you want to call them are like manifestations of the same desire and intent in the world. They're not opposed to each other, but they're like on the same team, I'll say, for extreme simplification. Yet in the movie, they tried to put them as opposed to each other, and that doesn't make sense from any of the lore. Not only that, they tried to make it way too like, the Crucible and witch burning and all that kind of stuff, literally witch burning in the Silent Hill movie. And it's like, that's not really what it's about. And so it was really clear that they had some idea of some of the plot points throughout the game series, but not enough to really, or if they did, they just picked and choose to make a different plot that was like, oh, well, here's a little bit of flavor of this, here's a little bit of flavor of that, just nothing like the plot. The only thing that they did pick from the plot, and I will give them props for this part of it, that is like the games itself, is Alessa being the focus, right? And then Alessa having the presence inside of Silent Hill as physical Alessa, who was in the hospital and all that. The reasons they fabricate a reason that's very different than anything in the game. That's okay. That I don't actually mind, because it's hard to explain what happens in the actual lore, especially in like a presentation format like a movie. So I get it. If it were a book, it'd be a different story, but it's not. It's a movie. That's fine. Make a substitution there. I don't have a problem with the fire and all that kind of stuff. I guess I'm speaking very specifically to the plot. So if you don't know the plot of Silent Hill, you're probably not following me. Anyway, and then Rose kind of having the spirit or whatever of Alessa, drawing her to the city as well. That's kind of interesting as well, and somewhat aligned with some of the plot. And then the whole idea of Dahlia being Alessa's mother and Dahlia being kind of a crazy woman, but some of that's lost because the cult still exists there, right? Because in that time in the game, the cult did not exist. It's just Dahlia and Alessa. Right. And the way that they try to present that, I think that's pretty good. They try. So I will give them, again, props for that. They try to present the plot of Silent Hill 1. But in doing that, they really bastardize it, because they don't go all the way. They only go like 60 yards of the 100 yards to get to the touchdown. And that last 40 yards kind of really even pushes them back because of the things that they do. They make choices that, because they're not aware enough of all of the plot, it minimizes how good the things that they chose to do is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I said, I will talk about this forever, and people probably will be like, what are you even talking about, Zerine? So that's the first movie. It's worth watching. I am happy it exists. it could be a lot better, but it could be so much worse. So that's why I feel like 65-70% on this thing. The second movie, I've only watched it once, and I don't know that I can speak confidently enough to really talk about where they got it right, where they got it wrong. I think that, and I can't talk too much about it because it's going to be spoilers for you not having played 3 or other other games.
Yeah.
Have you played 2?
Yeah.
Okay. The second movie starts out a lot like the first game in the sense that it's just the dad and the daughter, right? And then immediately if you've not played through the games, you get some stuff spoiled that it's like, oh, okay.
Noted.
Yeah.
I'm glad I never saw it then.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where you might not catch it, but if you're listening, like if you pay attention to movies, like I'm like a weirdo. Like, so my wife and I watch movies not that often, but when we do, she's always like, who is that? What did they say? Why? Cause like, I'm like this weirdo who's like I'm like trying to watch this movie like I'm reading a script, right? I'm trying to get everything that's coming at me. Cause especially these days, I know how that they make movies where like they put little things everywhere for people to find it. And if you're not paying a lot of attention, you're going to miss something. And I know even the way that I pay attention, I miss stuff, but so it may be just a function of that I pay attention to those little things. You might not catch it if you're not, especially if you're not thinking about the lore. Maybe it'd be one of those things too, where like, I know how things fit together in my head. And then I see that and I'm like, oh, that's what they're doing. But I would definitely recommend you playing at least 2 and 3 before watching the second movie. Because there's some things that they're like literal scenes from the game that they do in the movie, the second movie.
Okay.
It gave me like an impression, like, you know how Mortal Kombat Annihilation is trying to be more like the Mortal Kombat games by like showing you all these characters and having them fight and all this kind of stuff. Then the first Mortal Kombat movie is trying to be more like a movie. That's exactly how I feel about Silent Hill. The first Silent Hill is trying more to be like a movie. And then the second one's trying to be more like, oh, like here's some Silent Hill things. And it's a weaker movie because of that.
Yeah.
And they really twist a lot of stuff. They drop a lot of characters in there, especially characters from like 3 into the second movie that in ways that like just don't make sense because they didn't do other things to make them make sense. So it's a real kludge. And so I understand why people have a really low opinion of the second Silent Hill movie. Second Silent Hill movie, even with its production, had even more problems than the first one. And they rewrote it a lot and they changed directors and a lot of things happened. Like the guy who was like, part of the reason the first Silent Hill is as good aesthetically as it is I think it's the director was like really, it's either the director or one of the writers was really a huge fan of the game, of the games. And so like really fought for it to feel and look and sound like the games. Yeah. And that person's not working on the second movie. But they were originally, but then they kind of got booted. And then of course that's the death knell of the good stuff usually.
Yeah. Right.
When somebody who cares about like literally deeply cares about the source material is removed from a project. It's like, well, we know why they were removed from the project. They were fighting for the good stuff and we're not going to get the good stuff.
Right.
So, I have, this may be a funny thing to say or to hear after me saying all that. I have much less disdain for the Silent Hill movie series than I do for the Resident Evil one. And maybe that's because they could only do enough damage with 2 movies versus Resident Evil was like 6 or something, 7, I don't know. But also the first Silent Hill movie up to that point was the best video game movie I'd ever seen. It was the best attempt at an adaptation ever. And I've watched it several times. And every time I watch it, I continually get surprised about how much it feels like a Silent Hill game watching it. So that's cool that exists.
I really need to watch it again. I think I've only seen it like twice.
Oh,
I know I've seen it twice. I don't think I've seen it any more than that.
It's worth watching. It's just a good movie. I mean, if you want to see like a kind of horror movie, as a movie, I could see criticisms of it, right? There's like some parts where it's just really like lore dumpy, where like, somebody will just stand there and just say stuff. And it's like, oh, okay. And it's like, but I mean, some of it kind of has to be if you want to get the real story. Cause like even with that, it's like they're missing so much, and it's hard to condense like a 20-hour or whatever experience down into like 2 hours. And it really is. And especially when people care about those 20 hours so much, it's like, well, this is why I think that the Hobbit movies are really good. Have you seen those?
Negative.
So you know they split the one book into 3 movies. Basically, it's been so long since I've read the book, but basically everything that's in the book is in the movies. I'm sure they messed some stuff up because, like I said, I was a kid when I read The Hobbit, but everything that was in the movies I remember from the book, and there's nothing that I remember from the book that wasn't in the movies. I'll put it that way. And so, you know, when I heard that they were going to do that, I was like, they're just trying to drag it out to make more money. But it's like after having watched the movies, I felt much more like, no, they just really wanted to they wanted to put the book into a movie format, and it just really felt like what they did. Less so with like the original trilogy or the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like it's really good. Don't get me wrong, I like it, and I haven't read all the books, so like I wouldn't have the same criticism as somebody who has. But that is clearly more condensed than those books would have been. Same thing with the Silent Hill movie. It's like it is clearly more condensed than even a single game would have been.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know how you, especially with something like Silent Hill, I don't know how you would do that in a movie. So I think that's probably the best attempt I've seen, at least to that point, of having a movie that was based on a video game. And I can't think of anything since then that was better necessarily, except for maybe you could argue Sonic the Hedgehog, but that's kind of a different thing because Sonic isn't like a whole lot of like real lore exposition and like real strong story that they needed to put across. And they kind of took liberties, I guess, with everything in Sonic. You just had the real Sonic feel from him and his character.
Yeah. I don't know. The more that we talk about this, the more that I start to think about the whole thing, and I feel like all of these movies are. I look at them as like a remix of what was originally released. Like I'm not even, and like it's like I enjoy the Sonic movie. But, you know, of course, there's like all this stuff out of the games that they just plucked from and they just kind of like built a movie around it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes me feel like, oh, this is just a remix of that. Like it's just, it's its own thing. Like it's the writers either, you know, you can say they made bad decisions or whatever, but I mean, you know, and there's a lot of probably other people in there, you know, influencing those decisions and moving things around.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I can see people trying to be artistic with what they're doing and not wanting to just, all right, here we go, let's adjust this and make a movie with this exact thing. You know, them wanting to be an artist. Like if I'm remixing a song, you know, I actually don't like music remixes that are just the song played on guitar or whatever. I actually hate that.
Oh yeah.
Like that drives me crazy. That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear you being an artist with it. But, you know, that's not to say that people don't make bad decisions when they are being an artist with the thing. But
well, this is a real life thing, right? You have to risk making really bad decisions to learn anything and to move anywhere in life. That's being the fool, right? You have to risk being a fool to become a master.
Right.
And you have to actually not just risk it, you have to actually be a fool for a while before you can become a master.
Yeah.
And there's lots of steps on that path too. So I agree with you. I think that's so when I watched the second Silent Hill movie, it was probably 5 years ago, maybe something like that. So it was well after it came out in theaters, and I was prepared for it to be bad because I'd seen bad reviews. I'd heard so many negative things about it, but I didn't really feel that way about it watching it. Yeah. Well, did I want things to be different? Definitely. Could have been a lot better. Oh, for sure. Was it that great of a movie? Not really, but it wasn't terrible. So if I say like the first one's like 65, 70% where I would love to have it be, the second one's probably 30%, 40%, versus most of the movies we talked about are like 0 to 5%. So, or negative % in the case of Max Payne. Anyway, So I actually, for what it was, going into it knowing it was going to be bad, I actually enjoyed it because it's more of the Silent Hill feel. There's some good stuff there. The characters were interesting. It was interesting to see them try to represent some of the characters. And it was, I don't know. I maybe it's like what you're saying. I've just never been able to articulate it or thought about it. It's like the older that I get, the less I'm like, okay, maybe I've just resigned myself to knowing that I'm not going to get what I envision of a movie from a video game ever. Yeah. And if you accept that, and like you said, think about it more like a remix or just kind of, having, that kind of aesthetic around it and that feeling around it, and try to see it for what it is, then you can enjoy it more. And perhaps that's what I'm doing, like subconsciously.
Yeah, right.
Maybe I'm just too traumatized by the terrible movies, video game movies.
I understand that.
Internalizing the trauma.
Although that whole thing actually made me enjoy the Sonic movie more. Just I had zero expectations for that movie, zero, and that actually helped me enjoy it. And like I don't know. And also Sonic lore is all over the place. Like there's so much stuff, so many. There's like this. Like the Sega games or the Genesis games, and then the adventure games, and then I don't know. It's just at some point, it's just a mess of stuff, and you just got to pick which ones you like, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's true even with Resident Evil and Silent Hill, right? That's why I stopped Resident Evil at Code Veronica. I'll say, because Code Veronica still is portraying events that are actually talked about in not events, but portraying lore that is talked about in Resident Evil 2, because
is that game after 2 or 3?
So that's a funny question. Do you mean time wise, or do you mean like when it was released? Or?
Yes.
Okay, so technically, here's how it goes: Resident Evil 1. Okay, technically, how it goes: 0, and then immediately when 0 ends, 1 begins. And that's in July of 1996. That's July 1996. September of, is that 96 or 98? I think it's actually 98 in the first game. It's 98. So the game came out in 96, but I'm pretty sure it's July 98. So they set it into the future. So that's both 0 and 1. September of 98, 3 starts. But then a couple hours after that, or a handful of hours after that, 2 starts. Okay. So 3 actually takes place starting between 1 and 2, but then overlaps with 2 time-wise.
Okay. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. And then after that, Claire goes to Europe to find Chris, because that's why she came to Raccoon City, was to find Chris. And then she found out that he went on vacation to Europe. And so that's what Code Veronica is Claire going to Europe to find Chris.
Oh, okay.
So that happens after 3. So then it's like 1, 2, 2 and 3, or no, 1, 3, 3 and 2, and then 2, and then Code Veronica.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird. But it's interesting, right? Because and that was what was also cool about 3, is that it takes place in a totally different part of the city than 2 does, except for the part where they go to RPD at the beginning of 3. So it's like you get a bigger sense of Raccoon City, which is what I really like that about what 3 adds to the canon. As far as like the story of the development, though, 3 was not supposed to be 3. The reason why 3 has the subtitle Nemesis is that they were going to release 2 games, Resident Evil Code Veronica and Resident Evil Nemesis. And they decided somehow at some point that they needed a Resident Evil 3 game because 2 did so well on the console. So then they took this idea, and I think Nemesis was going to potentially be on another console. Like, I don't know if they were going to wait for PlayStation 2 or what. I don't know what it was. But then they're like, no, we need another PS1 game. And so they took that Nemesis project, and that became 3. So they did the story, 3 used the same engine, all that kind of stuff. And so that's interesting. I really wish that we could have seen where that was going to go, but
Right.
The next thing was 4, so it's like, maybe they were thinking about something other than what I was really hoping they would do. But yeah, I really would love to have, and there's some indie horror games that I need to play. A couple of them that I've come across lately that are clearly deeply Resident Evil inspired, like item collecting, puzzle solving, difficult to play survival horror games. But I would really, but they're all 3D. They render themselves as like fixed camera angle, like Resident Evil, but it's not pre-rendered backgrounds. It's like actually in engine rendered real time. I like that though. I'm glad they're trying to pay homage like that. So there's some of those that I need to play, but I would really like to see, and maybe this exists. Anybody out there that knows this exists, or if you do, let me know if there are any new games that have come out, like indie horror games that are doing this whole pre-rendered background thing. Because imagine how nice that would look now. It looked amazing back in the day because it's like you couldn't do graphics like that, or it'd be hard, especially in 2. It'd be hard to do graphics like that real time and look that nice in the background. Imagine if you had really high res rendered backgrounds, static backgrounds these days with what you could do, like just like anybody's old computer that they got a good graphics card, or even if they don't, just got a little bit of time to do the rendering. How good that could look in the hands of the right artist and the right visionary for that kind of a game. I would love to play something like that.
Surely that's happened. If not, like I just that's got to happen at some point if it doesn't exist. I just
if somebody's working on that, reach out to me. I'd love to do your music. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, it's this whole like thing, like the resurgence of like pixel art and all that stuff. Like, people who really appreciate that, like they appreciate the heck out of that, and like that's their thing. Like, surely somebody out there appreciates that style of video game enough to make a game like that.
I would hope so. I sure think so. Maybe I just need to do some sleuthing on the cyberspaces to see if somebody's up to that. So maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I feel about those movies. Resident Evil, the first one you could watch, the second one you could watch. After that, it's really not worth it. Silent Hill, I think they're both worth watching. The first one is pretty decent, although I won't go as far as to say it's great. It's good. So yeah,
Noted.
I didn't cry in the theaters. I'll put it that way.
That's good.
Of agony, as I might have.
I can just imagine you in the middle of one of these movies, just bursting out into tears and screaming, "No,
no, why?"
Right.
You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be here. What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? Oh, that's great. Yeah.
That would totally be something I would do if I were watching it at home, though. Like theaters, like you got to respect people paying their own money, spending their own time to come see this thing. But at home, no, it's on. I'm going to yell at the movie, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Oh.
I could throw things at home, too.
Right, exactly.
Throw the popcorn at the TV. How dare you?
Oh.
Man.
Anyway.
That's really something I would do.
Zoraine, is there anything else that you need to get off your chest about those movies?
I feel like this has been talking for like an hour and a half, just nonstop about the things that I hate about Resident Evil and Silent Hill, the movies. I'm good. Like at this point, if you don't understand how I feel about it, I don't know if you're ever going to understand it.
Right.
So, yeah. Which is fine. Like, and I welcome complete disagreement. I actually know people who love all of the Resident Evil movies, like really love them. Of course, they don't know anything about the video games, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know some people who really like the video games, and they think the movies they think they're better than I think that they are. I've tried, dude. Like the next to last one I went to see in the theaters even, and it was just, the whole movie I was just like I had my head drooped. I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? Like every second I was like, are you serious?
Yeah. That's kind of been my thing. Is whenever I watch one of those movies, I'm just it's its own thing, and like if it's a bad movie, it's a bad movie. But if it's a good movie, it's all right.
Well, yeah, I will say that most of the Resident Evil movies are just bad movies.
Yeah,
I am
that is just that is a different conversation. Like if it's just a bad movie, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Or this thing where like it's a good movie, but they just like inject this fan service in random spots. Like, oh come on.
Oh yeah.
Like whatever.
Right.
I guess there are different levels of video game movie, but you know.
Yeah. I feel you, dude. Totally.
So
what's coming up soon for like video game movies? Maybe we should talk about that a little bit.
You know, I saw some of that when I was researching for this topic. Let me pull this up.
Well, they're going to do the Super Mario movie. It has like Chris Pratt as Mario and
yeah,
like I think a star-studded cast.
So that's interesting. I don't know how to feel about that exactly.
Right. Oh, I'm pretty numb to it. I'm just sad that John Leguizamo is not going to be Luigi.
Oh, dude! Like if he was in that movie just somewhere, that would just melt my brain.
Or can you imagine Bob Hoskins? Is he even still alive? Even if he is, he would never do it. Yeah, did he pass away?
I think so.
All
right, let's see. So I was looking at this list here. There were some on here that I've never seen. So there's the Prince of Persia movie, which exists.
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing based off that new Prince of Persia. Like, I say new. Wow.
Yeah,
the
GameCube,
PS2. Yeah, those. Sheesh. Okay, anyway. There was a Hitman movie. I've never played those games. This movie has a 6.3, so...
Oh,
the new Tomb Raider movie I was talking about has a 6.3 as well, so...
yeah.
Let's see. There was some stuff on here that is like announced. I never played Kane and Lynch, but there's a Kane and Lynch movie that's been announced.
Really?
Yeah. Your favorite, the classic Dungeons and Dragons is on here.
Like as a new movie?
No, an old one. The one that you saw.
Oh, okay. Ugh. So bad. And not like, the Wizard and Lucas and the Power Glove.
There were several Bloodrayne movies. Again, another series that I have not played. There were
really?
I see 3 on here.
3 movies?
Yeah.
Oh
they all are one. The third movie has a whopping score of 3. I believe that's out of 100, right? No, it's out of 10. Okay.
No, it's 10 on IMDb. Okay. Yeah.
The other 2 are 2.9 and 2.7. So those probably are not worth a watch.
Man. Got better over time.
Right. Dead or Alive is apparently a that.
Like the fighting game Dead or Alive?
Yes.
Now I need to know, what's that movie rated?
4.8.
No. I mean rated.
PG-13.
Okay. So it's not. I was wondering if it was going to be like ultra fan servicey. If you know what
right.
I mean. It's like apparently not.
There was a Red Faction movie.
Really?
What?
What the heck? How do we not see these?
Interesting. There was a Tekken movie.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Far Cry.
Dude, are these like actual movies or are these like because like IMDb looks like fan stuff?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Let me see this.
Is there really a Tekken movie? That's surprising to me. I don't even remember having 2010. Are you serious? So it was released in 2010. 4.8 rated R. Did it get released here? Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Action, crime, and drama.
From the streets, a warrior has risen. How do you make a movie about Tekken? I say this and I'm triggering all the Tekken fans.
So there was apparently a Duke Nukem movie that was announced.
That could be good.
Guess who the star of that one is?
Oh, man. It really needs to be the dude who does the voice of Duke Nukem. Just make him be an actor. It'd be good enough.
What is his name? John St. John? Is that his name?
Yeah. Have you seen like the real trend that's on TikTok now?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yep.
oh, those are a lot of words. Too bad I'm not reading them. It's so good.
Oh man. There was some comment that I wanted to respond to and say that. I got to figure out what that was. I totally need to do that.
Oh, man.
Fairly certain it was on that Majora's Mask video.
Oh, yeah, get them. That's hilarious.
Anyway.
You should pin that one, too, when you do it.
Oh, that's great. Do you give up? Do you tap out?
Wait. What was the question? What are we talking about?
Who is Duke Nukem in this movie?
So I know that The Rock said that he was playing a character, but I don't know if that ever got revealed what he was. He said he was playing a character in a new video game movie of a series that he played a lot. I don't know.
Oh, what
Probably
was that?
not The Rock.
It's not this one. What was that?
Did he announce what it was? I don't know if that ever came out.
I could have sworn I saw that somewhere recently.
Let's see is it on his IMDb. We're just like live, searching.
He was in the freaking Rampage movie that just came back to my mind. That was a thing that existed.
Oh, good grief. Yeah, I don't see anything. It looks like it's coming out soon that's got him tagged on it, but that doesn't mean, maybe it just never announced. Oh, they're redoing Big Trouble in Little China, and I guess he's playing, what's his face? That's funny. I give up. Who is it?
John Cena.
Oh, I should have guessed. I mean, that's not a bad choice, but he's too family friendly. Right?
I don't know. He's been in some more R-rated stuff, and he can be pretty funny. So I would be curious to see how he plays Duke Nukem. I don't know. I wouldn't totally write that one off. I could possibly see that.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see how he does that. But
I mean, if there's a Duke Nukem movie, I'm going to see it. I mean, there's no question. I bought Duke Nukem Forever, albeit I bought it for like $2, but like literally like $2 or $3. Like literally, that's how much I paid for it.
Right.
And I played it exactly once. So yeah, I would definitely see a Duke Nukem movie. Like no matter, like even if it was like rated 0.1 out of 10, I would still go. I would probably be more interested to see it at that point.
Yeah, right.
Just to see how bad it was. Like it's like Duke Nukem Forever, the movie.
Holy crap! If it was called that, what the heck? Yeah. Oh, dude.
Man, like, can you imagine? Like, it would be so easy. It would be so. Duke Nukem's one of those series that you can make infinite movies about. Like, if you could get the budgeting right, like John Cena's not the right budget for this.
Yeah.
For my idea, but like, imagine like a series of like complete 4 to 5 star movies out of 10. Like. That everybody's like, nobody would ever go see except for people who just love Duke Nukem. Right. But you have like infinite of these, and then like all of the subtitles are like Duke Nukem 3, shake it, baby, and Duke Nukem 7, damn, I'm good, and like, Duke Nukem 12, that feels good.
Yes.
Stupid crap like that.
Yes, that right there, that. Oh, dude.
Wouldn't that be like people would watch that? Exactly.
All aboard, right? I'm on.
Yes.
I'm getting on that train.
Crap. Buy the 20, I almost said DVD, Blu-ray set or whatever. People, do they even buy this anymore?
The Blu-ray set of Duke. Oh, man.
Atomic Edition.
Oh, dude. And then they freaking...
Get a copy of all the games with
crap.
it, too.
Right. But they have one movie that just, it's in production hell. And it's like in development over the span of 15 years. It literally has several different actors in it playing Duke Nukem. And like all these different things spliced together that just doesn't even make sense. And then that is called Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah, it's the last one, and it's like every scene, it's a different guy playing Duke Nukem, and it's like it's like I don't know, and like it's like it's ridiculous too, or it's like it's like John Cena plays in one scene, and then Jackie Chan in another scene, and then The Rock in another scene. It's like all these like different people. It's like it doesn't even look the same.
Oh.
That would be so funny. Oh man, I could think of I could sit here and they're not appropriate for this podcast, but I could write like 100 jokes for that movie series like in 10 minutes, easy.
Oh yes,
and you know, little riffs and stuff. Oh, bro,
dude.
Why hasn't somebody done this?
Oh yeah.
If this movie, like literally, if this movie comes out and every single one of Duke Nukem's line isn't a one-liner, a quotable one-liner, then they failed as a movie.
Yes.
Like he doesn't even need to have a personality. He just needs to be a walking one-liner. That's all.
That is his personality. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he never removes the sunglasses ever. The whole game, no matter what's happening. Like, you know, if there's a sex scene, if there's, you know, like he's in the middle of a battle, if he's taking a shower, there's got to be a shower scene where he's got the sunglasses on. Like, never removes the sunglasses.
Oh yes,
bro. There's just so much. There's so much gold there to be dug for that series to make just it. If you commit yourself to being like, okay, this is not going to be a 10 out of 10. This is not going to be a 9. This is a 7 out of 10 at best. You know, if we do everything right, it's a 7 out of 10. And you're like, okay with that? Dude, there's so much you could do with that.
Exactly.
Movie. I mean, like, going to space and all that kind of stuff. That was the original thing. Like, I didn't play all of Duke Nukem Forever, so they probably did it at some point. But originally, that's what it was going to be. It was like that he had to go out into space because to just like screw over the aliens forever.
Right.
Man.
Oh, I don't know what's wrong with me. I really actually want to pick that game back up and try to play through it.
Duke Nukem Forever?
Yes.
Oh, you should stream it, dude. Oh, that's a little. Maybe
that could be Michael K. After Hours.
Right.
Change the parental advisory on the channel there for that one.
True. You should make Michael K. After Hours. That would be hilarious.
I don't know, man. I got several hours into that game actually when I played it.
It was just. I don't know. It just wasn't fun.
Yeah, there was some seriously like this is not fun. This is just not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I can believe they released it. I can't believe that they thought that it was gonna do anything. Like, anyway, this is not maybe we need to have a Duke Nukem just general podcast. That would be
clearly that's what needs to happen here.
Man, I played the first two games a lot, and then when the third one came out, dude, like. That was the only game I played for a very, very long time. I love the third one. My experience with those games was very spotty. I played them, but it was just very spotty, and I was very young, and I probably shouldn't have been playing them. TBH. I had a friend that gave me to them on don't copy that floppy. Well, we copied that floppy, and that and what is that name? Oh, what is the name of that game? One of those old FPS. Jazz Jackrabbit.
No.
What kind of
Rise of the Triad?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I loved that game.
Yeah, that one's really good.
I remember unlocking God mode in that, and it was just like it was so fun. It was like,
not enough people talk about that one and some of these other like.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite games in that era, actually.
Yeah. It had a much different feel than like the others. It like had an aesthetic around it, which I guess you could say that like. What Heretic and Hexen did too, because like the whole magic thing in addition to the guns. But yeah, I really like Rise of the Triad. That was cool. I do remember talking about Duke Nukem. We probably need to wrap up, but talking about Duke Nukem, I remember that the shareware for the first game is the first thing that I installed on a DOS computer by myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that like I remember going to Walmart, getting it. Like paying for shareware back in the day because it was like cheap. I mean, but that's how they got stuff out there, and then installing it and playing it. And the first game's actually, I haven't played it recently, but I wouldn't be surprised if it holds up to a degree because it's just kind of like puzzle platformer sort of thing. The second one, the graphics and stuff were much better than the first one, and the controls and all that. And I remember it being really good and spending a lot of time with it.
I have made a note here that is critical for our survival as a podcast. Retro PC gaming.
Oh, bro, yes.
That's probably going to end up being like 4 or 5 parts, but you know,
we could talk about like all of the old epic mega games and Apogee games.
Yep.
Yeah. Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one.
Man, I miss. This is a whole nother podcast that I'm about to start off here with, but I miss like retro PC gaming. Like I miss this thing where like PC games were their own thing and console games were their own thing. And when they tried to crisscross, it didn't work usually.
Right.
Sometimes it did, but usually it didn't.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that
Definitely
era
not.
of gaming. But anyway.
For
Well,
sure, dude.
cyberspace. It's been a journey. It's been a journey here. Many tears have been shed, but we are thankful that you have been here with us along this journey. But what was that? Oh, Zorain.
Yes.
I heard a call through cyberspace land that they want to know how they can see what you're doing out there in cyberspace land and keep up to date with all the Zorain happening. So how can that happen?
Well, first of all, thank you. Future? I almost said future. Past Cyberspaceling who initiated that call, because I know you're very real and I know you very much exist. You can go to point your personal cyberspatialer browsing device to Zorain.net, Xeraen.net.
Yes.
And there are some links there for you to click on and further explore your featuring options.
I love that. And likewise, if you go to Michael K. .net/links, you'll get a bunch of links and you can see all the things that I do. And also Zorain does. Even though it says Michael K, it's also Michael K and Zorain.
Fully exposed edition.
You're right. Let's see what else. However you are watching or listening to this podcast, if you go to hyperpixelpodcast.net, you can see other options for consuming what the heck we're doing here on the Hyperpixel podcast.
If you prefer us primarily and only being in your ear holes, you can do that.
You can do that.
If you prefer the eye holes as well, you can do that.
Absolutely. I also stream every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central. And let's see, what am I doing this week? Well, by the time you hear this, I will have already done this. So it won't really matter. But this week, I am playing the Superman Taito arcade board live on stream. And I'm quite excited about that. So
I know that you got that, but for some reason, I still thought you were about to say Superman 64. I don't know why, brother.
It's
why
funny.
You do that to yourself?
It's funny you said. I actually played that. I think it was last week. I played a little bit of that game last week because I was doing a TikTok stitch about the worst game ever made.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody always says Superman 64 or E.T. It's kind of the default at this point, you know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be a little bit unique with it and not just do the common thing. But I wanted to play Superman 64 again to make sure. It's like, okay, is it like that bad? You know, like, let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's be honest with ourselves. Is it worse than big rigs over-the-road racing? And my assessment is no. It's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But
you actually have another dimension you can move in
that's
the Superman
correct.
Game.
There is a speed cap on Superman 64. You don't just infinitely go into reverse as your speedometer goes into the negatives and continues spinning into oblivion. You know, if you hit a bridge, you actually hit the bridge. You don't just fly through the bridge. So anyway, but you know.
Is what it is.
IMO. So anyway. I was going to put this live on stream here. So this is my Superman Taito board encased in this nice acrylic case here. I'm very sorry if you're listening to the auditory form of this podcast, but yeah.
Imagine a green, board with a bunch of circuits on it.
That's correct, and that's it. And we got it. Anyway, cyberspace. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been absolutely incredible this week, and we'll see you. We'll see you, or you'll hear us, or you know what I'm saying. We'll catch you next time on the Hyperpixel Podcast. Everybody take care out there in cyberspace land.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Deuces.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Seriously. I'm clicking the button.